Hello. Welcome to the Creative Currents podcast. My name is Dylan Clayton and I have a guest today. Their name is Willow Ferns.
Yep. Hey.
Hi.
To be
Hello. So, Willow, why don't you tell us a little bit about your career for the past few years?
Well, I studied at SAE doing sound. When I was in my last year, I kind of started working, doing some corporate stuff, like lifting truss. And they say, oh, have you got audio experience? And you say yes. And then you just end up wrapping XLRs. So I did that for a while. That was my audio expertise being put to use. And then worked for a couple of different production companies doing loaded gigs, like bump in, bump out sort of thing. And then started doing gigs, which I wanted to do, like doing live sound at the same time as doing some studio work as well. And just kind of production work for people, like recording and mixing. But live sound is really fun. And yeah, so I just was doing gigs around Perth and Fremantle, mixing local bands, and then got a job as production manager at Mojo's. So mostly been doing that. Done a couple of tours, doing sound and playing guitar as well. But yeah, just doing sound at Mojo's mostly at the moment.
Exciting. Yeah. So what's that job sort of like? What does that entail?
It's good. You, as the main soundy or production manager, I guess, even though there's not a lot of production to manage at Mojo's compared to Record Bite or something where it's all production. Do sound checks for bands, check if they need anything, if they have requirements, and you get that sort of before, sound check them, make sure they have good sound, have a good gig, mix them real loud. So I don't know, so that people have a good time.
So I heard you also do producing as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I did do a bit of that. I do a bit of that. I think that's what I thought I wanted to do when I graduated. But I started doing live sound as well, which turned out to be really fun and be really, I was good at that. Yeah, I don't know. With producing, it's my thoughts on that was when you're starting out doing live sound, you do one bad gig and it's over in a night, Yeah. And you learn from it and you're like, crikey, that was bad. And then, it's done. But if you do if you have a bad band you're working with, it's 3 months of agony, It's 3 months of agony mixing, being I can't, this is atrocious.
You can only polish a turd so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you're starting out, you record your mates and whatever and you don't really know enough and they don't really know enough to make it a good time. So that's where you got to start and grind that for a long time. Or you could grind live sound, make money, and then just choose the producing jobs that you want to do.
Yeah.
And maybe there's not the pressure of it being a business and being I need to charge you top dollar to make it a viable business. You can kind of produce stuff that you want to do at a cheaper rate so that they're more happy and you don't feel you're have the pressure or you're ripping them off because you're learning at the same time. So yeah, I thought, a bit of both to do it. And I've kind of just been more producing my own stuff or collaborating with people and doing it that way instead of searching out for brand new Triple J Unearthed bands and trying to record them and just having a nightmare time for
trying
everyone.
To find the next Spacey Jane or some shit that.
Yeah. But then it really not the chances are it's not going to be like that. And it's going to be that's how everyone's got to start there. But you're I've just spent 3 months working on this. I don't want anybody to hear it,
So you were mostly freelancing then, or were you in a studio?
It was for just freelancing.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd work in a studio or I'd work out of home because with the technology these days, it's kind of laptop producing is just as good as, unless it depends what you're going for, I thought I wanted to do rock bands and stuff because that's what I've always played in.
Yeah.
But then working with bands can be great, but it also has its own nightmares as well because it's everyone, they're I'm the god of guitar. This drum solo is going to be the greatest moment on the record. And you're come on, we need to make a good song here. So then I started working more with singers and stuff who were more songwriters and had their own say. So it was more flexible, which I don't know, I found to be better and it works better. On a laptop, you can just be oh, do you want bass? You can play some bass and get it done instead of having everyone have the time or now's time for my bass solo and you're who wants that? Nobody. I don't know. So yeah, laptop recording is totally viable, I think. And so I would do it from home a little bit, or if we wanted live drums, we'd dry hire a studio for like a day just with the goal of like maybe doing drums or something like that. But yeah.
Something that you couldn't do from home.
Yeah. But you can do, and stuff's so affordable now. Like I got a few outboard gear things like warm audio, whatever, you can get like tube compressors and stuff that just give it a bit of edge, like over having to go to the studio or whatever and getting like an amazing vocal sound. You can do that with like UAD plugins and a bit of a cool preamp or something like that.
Yeah.
So you can offset that and, invest it, and it's so affordable. So you can just do it from home.
In the long run, it's worth it too, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you're kind of reinvesting, and you're going to have it for ages. And if you're musically inclined, you will always have a use for it as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So what made you want to pursue a career in like music?
I think,
was it like a childhood thing?
Yeah, I think I always have just been a music person.
Yeah.
And then through maybe like doing other jobs, and just realizing that I suck quite at everything except music, or like, working, like all the jobs that I had that weren't audio and music, I'd get like fired from, just hated because I'd just be like so bored.
Right.
And so then eventually I thought, it was like my ex-partner was like, why don't you do this as a job, like audio as a job? That's what you actually want to do. But I never thought it was like viable.
Yeah.
Like there was a path. And so I was like, okay, that's after, because I studied audio at TAFE, just smoked a lot of durries, but yeah, never saw it as like a viable career option. And then, my partner said that, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll do SAE. I guess this is the only thing that like I don't get bored by. I'll do this. And it turns out like if you actually do what you like, it's better than if you just like do what you hate and do a terrible job at it, So yeah.
Yeah, no, cool. So I'll get into a little bit of the reads then after your opinions on a couple of things. How would you describe the overall stability of the creative industries compared to like more traditional?
The creative industries,
sectors?
like
just like
all the
it's a general question, but say in your case, so like Perth's music scene or like your stuff at Mojo's, like would you find that work to be relatively stable? I suppose in a case, maybe yes, because you've got like an actual solid place of employment.
Yeah. I think in some cases it's, especially if you're working for yourself, it's never going to have the same type of stability as if you're employed by someone.
Yeah. Like your usual 9 to 5.
9 to 5. But I mean, you can still get employed by like a production company and kind of do 9 to 5. And so you still have a boss or whatever. So I guess it's like, it's that versus like freelance. If you want to do freelance, it's not going to be as stable. But I think if you're like good at it and you have connections, it's like just about having a lot of options and income streams. So then it is stable. Like if you develop your skills and people want what you have, then you can have a lot of options. So then I'd say maybe it is more stable because, you could get fired from a job or they could go under or something like that. And then then you're stuck. But if you're freelance and you have a good set of skills, you can have quite a diverse amount of like opportunities.
Yeah.
So in some ways, maybe it's more stable because you have flexibility. But in Perth and, in audio and stuff, I was thinking the other day about how I was lucky that I was doing uni when I was, in my mid-20s instead of earlier, and then working, because when like COVID happened, live events was like suffered hugely. So if you're doing live audio as your job, it's like, fuck, you'd be screwed.
It's over.
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty lucky that I was studying. So it's unstable in that way. But I mean, and you can't really work remotely from that because also musicians are poor as well. So nobody's wanting to like do mixing jobs or anything like that. So yeah, it's unstable in that way. But you know what? Actually, I think like what industry, like was it the games industry or something was like really good in COVID? Maybe, or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe like things that destabilize some things that are actually good for, because creative industries now is like so linked with technology. So
working from home is just like a
working
big
from
thing,
home, remote.
Especially post-COVID.
Yeah. And like collaborating with people, through technology is so much more actually a thing than it used to be. So yeah, I'd say it's probably a myth that it's unstable. It's just as stable as anything else. Unless I think probably the most unstable is if you're just like a painter that's like, I want to be a painter like that.
Like an art painter?
Yeah, like just an art painter is probably the most tricky creative, that's like a quintessential art job. But like, you know, I think if you're approaching it like that, where if you do one thing or if you're just like, oh, I just want to be a guitar player, then that's very tricky and unstable. But that's what I mean. Like if you're freelancing, you got to have diverse opportunities and stuff like that.
So in that case, then would you also say that you need like a diverse sort of skill set to make yourself more appealing to employers, I guess is the right term?
And that's what I say, like, to people that struggle to get jobs is like, you need to have something that people want, like employers will actually want. And that could be one thing, and you can be a specialist, like working in any field or whatever, like working in audio. You see people who just like are doing incredible, like highly skilled work. They're like highly skilled specialists, you know? Or there's people who are like bitsers who do a bit of general everything like pretty well. So then like if it's, audio, then you could be doing like film or like, you know, be working somewhere doing tech support or then like mixing gigs as well and doing studio work, which is still like kind of specialized within audio, but you do know how to do a lot of things and you can just help people fulfill what their needs are. So I always just think like you're never going to get a job if you don't have the skills that are actually useful to someone. So if it's specialized or just like you're a general person who can like push things forward, it's either way.
Pretty broad, just in case.
Yeah, unless you like know exactly what you want and you're just like
I'm really good at this one thing, and I know exactly how to make a career out of it. In which case,
like if you're really good at live, if live sounds just your thing, then you're like touring, doing like big shows as like an engineer or something like that. But if you're diverse, then you can kind of have a bit more options and variety as well, which isn't as boring. Because I always found like doing the same thing all the time is so boring, and that's why I sucked at doing jobs, you know. If you have flexibility and options, it's way better, I think. And I think that lends itself to the creative industries or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
So I'll get a little bit personal then. How do you think your career affects your mental health in any way? Do you think that sort of being able to find work in music and that has helped you a lot? Or do you think it takes a toll on you occasionally? Or
I mean, I think when I finally decided to try and do what I liked and then like doing it and then receiving feedback that's like, oh, you did a good job. I was like, oh, I actually have autonomy over my life and like independence and the power to like, you know, like make it how I want it or something, and not just be like a slave to like whether an employer like decides to grace you with a job or not, and be like, here you go, like, why do you want to like a barista or something like that? And you got to pretend like it's your life's dream to, you know, or like retail to like sell poorly made jeans or something. You'd be like, oh, it's my passion. Like actually, so when I started following my passion and working in that and being like, oh, I actually enjoy this, it definitely helped my mental health of being like, oh, you know, it gives you a purpose. And if you're doing a job that you're good at or you get good feedback from, you're not going to want to change that or like leave that, you know, and be like miserable every day because you're like, oh, I'm getting rewarded from it, getting good feedback. So you're
getting some sort of like fulfillment out of it.
Yeah, it's just like fulfilling, and you're kind of doing what your actually brain chemistry is interested in, or your heart's interested in, you know. So it is going to help your mental health, make you feel like you're an actual person that can exist in the world. But then also I think it can be in the creative industry, it's like a thing where it's like your hobby becomes your job. But people say like you shouldn't make your hobby a job, but I think it's not because you won't enjoy it as much, but it's because you kind of like tie up your identity and your worth with like making money, you know?
Yeah.
And so if that becomes your only point of like who you are because you've like combined these areas, then that can be worrying. Like say if, you lose your job or you need to change your job or whatever, then you go into a spiral and you're like, who am I? You know? So I think you still need to recognize that like you're a creative person and you can do things like not for the purpose of your freelance business. Like you can do things for when you started
because you love doing it.
Yeah, because you love it, and that's why you started doing it when you're like a kid, you know, because you just like find fulfillment in it in your heart. Like you don't have to have it reflect in your bank balance, you know.
Yeah.
So,
So is that sort of what you get out of doing your own music as well?
Yeah, and just keeping it like diverse as well. And, you know, some things are like the money-making jobs and other things are like because it's fun.
Yeah,
you know?
because you love it.
It's fun like working in creative industries. That's why people want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like just grinding some job they hate and then doing it on the side. Like that's far more depressing and bad for your heart. Like there is a goal of like enjoying what you're doing every day, which is like so achievable. But yeah.
You ever find it like stressful or anything sometimes, or are you normally pretty good with it?
It's stressful. I kind of like when it's stressful though, because
You work well under stress?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's good. Depends what kind of stress. It's good like if you like that doing live audio
Yeah.
or like film stuff or where you're like physically there and it's like it's
Shit needs to happen now. Like
Yeah,
if you're in
that's the
broadcast or
best.
something. Yeah.
yeah. That's the best when stress is good. Like you can't be like that's when you know you're doing something right is when you're worried if you can do it or not and you're stressed.
It's like, all right, lock in. Let's do this.
Yeah, because then you finish, like the reward is so fulfilling. You finish the day and you're like, oh, I just learned so much and I actually did that. And at the start of the day, I didn't think I could. So the stress like that is good, I think.
Yeah.
And you need a bit of that. But I think the stress when it might be, you know, studio work and you're doing 3 months, you know, and it's like where you're like going to sleep at night and you're stressed. That
And you're like
sucks.
thinking about it and it's just.
Yeah, and that's only, I suppose, like, you know, if you're developing a video game or whatever, that's a long haul process or, yeah, something like that. You're going to be stressed in a different way than like if it's on the day physical stuff. Stress is the best because you're like excited by it.
So as long as there's not like a deeply personal connection to the work then, I guess.
Yeah, as long as it's not like a subconscious gnawing horror kind of stress, then it's good. Yeah.
All right, wicked. So on to that then. So do you think these sort of like creative industries like music and film and that, do you think they have like enough support systems like unions or associations or anything like that for the people within them? Like, oh, I need to find a good way to get funding for something and is there a grant there for me or like is there like...
Oh, fuck knows, hey, really?
No?
Like, I mean... I think because it's not set up in like a structure,
it's very
of an organization.
loose.
Yeah, it's loose. It's kind of like you have to look for it for yourself. There are grants, but that's you know, I hate that side. That side's a nightmare.
It's too much.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, like the venue I work at just got a grant to do it, but that was not done by me, and not much of the work was done by me because I just despise that kind of.
Do you just prefer to like work
stuff
with like all of the
actual
creative
and like
stuff?
The people, and you know,
and there are people that thrive in that sort of environment as well. Let that be their thing.
Yeah, and you know that's amazing. I think there is some stuff out there, but maybe there's not the awareness, and especially locally, there might be a certain like body that could definitely do more for the WA music
yeah,
industry.
Like, sure,
let's
why
say.
not? Fuck it, yeah.
For, you know, specifically WA music, let's just say, especially just like letting us know what is happening with the line to the government. I think there's not enough support from the government, especially for local music, which is like birthed some of the biggest money-making exports in the country. You know, like it's such a huge cultural plus for Australia, our local musicians, and it starts at local places and then grows into, you know, if you support that, then you're having like arena bands selling out stuff or like huge cultural icons that boost everything. But yeah, there's not very much support for venues or local bands who just need to like maybe get started.
Yeah.
There's definitely not enough.
So getting that sort of support then. So like Mojo's, for example, huge like location in Perth for like live music and stuff like that. Like I think that's one of like the big venues.
Yeah, like when you
in Perth,
when you travel interstate, the one place that people are going to go know is Mojo's, and there's a big legacy of like some amazing artists coming up through there. Yeah,
like a lot of local acts and that make their names there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So do you think it's like working there and stuff like that? Do you think there's a little bit of pressure being at a location that's so well known, or do you think?
I don't know about pressure. I think the pressure you just want to make it like uphold the legacy and do it proud and make it a spot, because everyone that works there like loves music so much, and it's great to see new bands come up and like bands that are quite successful come back and they're like love still playing there.
Yeah.
And coming in. Yeah. It's got a good legacy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still like the amount of venue closures over the last few years is like absurd. So, even like Mojo's a place that everyone knows in Australia is like, it's not like raking in the money.
No, it's still just like a bar like everywhere else.
It should like, it deserves to be going well, because it's such a important cultural landmark.
Yeah.
Like,
like Perth music and that, like it's got the clout.
Yeah. And I don't know, I think it's important culturally. And so, yeah, we shouldn't be worrying about trying to sell heaps of piss to people, and be like,
no,
get blasted drunk so we can make, we can still put on shows.
Yeah, so the lights stay on. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a strange thing in the industry at the moment where it's like we kind of need all the punters to be alcoholics, but of course, morally, we don't want that to be the case.
No, yeah. You just want everybody to
like, so it's strange. And that's when I think there should be like
some sort of support system.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's, some help from the government where it's like we recognize that this is the ground floor of like cultural icons and important musical people. So there needs to be like support in place, or else it's just not going to exist anymore. Or it's going to be like fucking like punishing cunts on TikTok, like being viral famous. Like nobody wants that as like their platform for expressing themselves, Maybe that sounds like a hell dadcore thing to say, but like, yeah, we don't just want dad rock bands coming up. Like, everybody
exactly what you mean.
Plays live. It's about connecting with humans like in a personal space, like in person.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, like whatever genre or whatever thing you want to do, it's always going to be like that, and
regardless of whether or not it's your dad's band or something.
Yeah, regardless of whether it's dad rock or like pop or whatever. I think, I don't know, the social media influence of music keeps us separated, keeps us apart in just as many ways as it like connects people around the world. I think it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
And people should do more connecting with people in person, and like playing music and listening to people's voices in person. Yeah, I don't know. That's a bit woohoo. I live in Fremantle, so yeah. But in the end, like it's like people play huge arenas to people in person. Like those concerts are record-breaking numbers happening in the last couple of years. Like huge tours and stuff. But then at the same time, local music is suffering so bad.
Yeah. One thing that
doesn't make sense.
Really pissed me off was that like massive multi-million-dollar grant that the WA music scene got, and like 3/4 of that went to a Coldplay concert.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that Coldplay fucking stuff was ridiculous. It's like seeing the amount of dick sucking that went on in the media for that like Coldplay show, and being like, oh, they're gracing, like local bands with the chance of opening.
Yeah.
It's like that's not going to do shit for like someone.
No, you're just helping out fucking Ticketmaster and nobody
else.
Yeah,
literally. And all of a sudden, like everyone loves concerts and like loves live music because it's like Coldplay, one of the most like vanilla ice cream musical experiences you could ever like ingest. And then as soon as it's like not something like that, it's like, yeah, live music is pushed to the side. But when there's someone like Coldplay or whatever in town or Taylor Swift, everyone's like, oh, live music. I love I live for live music or whatever. It's like, Christ.
That is the most colourful description of Coldplay's music that I've ever heard.
It's just vanilla ice cream.
It's vanilla ice cream.
On a fucking Arnott's milk arrowroot biscuit. Like, Christ. Yeah.
That rocks.
No, but respect. Whatever. I actually like Fixie's a beautiful song, and I've cried to it many times. Yeah.
I have this conversation a lot with our friend Owen, who's behind the cameras. Hello, Owen. Robbie Williams.
Yeah, he's good. I like him.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to like actively seek out shit like that.
Yeah.
But you put on Angels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Banger. Sorry.
So sidetracked. Did he do that music video that has him like taking his skin off? Yeah, that's wicked.
Oh my God. I fucking love that one with the shitty CGI skeleton. Where he takes his clothes off and then his skin
is. Yeah.
Yeah, brutal. Actually, no, that's a great segue in some sort of form because I had a question here. So like when you're talking about like social media and stuff like that and how you feel about it, what role do you think that like the advancement of tech like AI and automation and shit like that plays in shaping like the future stability of jobs in this sector? Like, do you think it's going to be a good thing? Do you think it's going to be a bad thing? Do you think it's going to be both?
I think like you can't sound like a fucking like grey nomad dad when you're like, it's bad. It's like everything new is bad. Of course, it's like it's going to play a part and it's going to be used creatively in some way. But, you know, I think in the nature of it, without just hating it because it's new, it's like artificial intelligence. And I think art is about humans connecting and humans sharing ideas with other humans and like connecting and not making you feel isolated. That's like a cornerstone of what art and especially music should be, is like sharing feelings or whatever. So I think that's when like people see, you know, like an album cover is generated by AI. They get pissed off because it's like, why do I care about what a computer made? But on the other side, it's like, well, it's still my idea. You know, I wanted to have a fucking like spaceman in a field of sunflower, whatever, someone did that or whatever. That's what people got pissed off at. So it's still their idea of the thing, but then you can go down, well, it's taking money away from people who could have made that, like, you know, graphic artists or whatever. But then on the other side of that is like musicians don't have any fucking money to pay people anyway.
It just goes back to like the bedroom producer sort of thing as well.
Yeah, so maybe you can make something at a higher quality for cheaper so that you can make yourself look a bit better or something like that. But I think like the other day I was like messing around with it and said like, write me a song like this in the style of this.
Yep.
And it came out like a song like with lyrics that you would be like, yeah, these suck, but it doesn't suck any more than like maybe a song that you would hear that is a successful song. So I think that's the risk, is like the best art is always made when it's like from someone's own heart, like as the least amount of barriers in the way from someone's like heart and brain to your ears or to your eyes or whatever it is that you're consuming. And that's always the most potent way.
The important thing is to like maintain that sort of like human connection between
100%.
Like artist and listener or viewer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think so. So that's the risk, I think, is that it just keeps humans further apart. But the benefit is maybe you can make a hell trippy poster for nothing. Fuck yeah, sick, do it.
Yeah, I guess a bit of a grey area then.
Yeah, but then also like I saw, you know, for video editing, like that you can incorporate AI tools to like do that cutting out, like instead of keyframing all your cuts, it just does it. And like, oh my God, that's incredible because that shit takes so long. So that's amazing. But that's not really AI. That people just call AI everything when it's really just
it's a buzzword.
A program.
Yeah.
You know, like a piece of code where it wouldn't have been called AI 10 years ago.
No.
But everything's AI.
Everything's
now.
AI now because it's marketable.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, that means it's new. That means it's smart.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, do you use Isotopes RX much at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit's fucking amazing. But I think they market that as like AI as well.
Yeah, but it's in like fucking the 8th iteration or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's like been around for ages.
It wasn't AI before that, but now it's like suddenly AI.
Suddenly it's AI.
It won't be AI until there's like a little anime girl on the side that's like, do you want me to do this for you? And it's like a character, which that might be fun.
Yeah, hey, if like an anime girl is going to like help clean up this audio, I am on board.
Yeah, then I get behind it being an AI.
Yeah.
Like you can have a chit chat to it while it like denoises your fucking vocal take. Yeah.
That rocks. Wicked. Okay, yeah, cool.
Funny content, a bit of a comedy podcast.
A little bit of a comedy podcast.
No, we're just here for facts and science. You know?
Just facts.
Yeah.
Just facts and logic, dude.
Facts and logic, yeah.
I got a couple more for you then. So talking about like AI and crazy shit like that, do you think like the reliance on trends and like consumer preferences and shit like that sort of affects the industry at all?
Yeah, I think depends what industry. You know, I mean, like some parts of creative industries are more like being a tradie. Like if you're doing the labor stuff or whatever, you know, or you know, if you're doing like production company stuff, or if you're like holding a boom thing on a set. I mean, that's kind of like you're just a tradie, not just a tradie. Like,
but there's a similarity there.
It's like you're grinding.
Yeah.
But the trend, like the creative part is like if you're making a movie or whatever, or if you're making a game, yeah, you have to know what's relevant because nobody wants to see the same stuff made all the time, you know? And if you're a producer or whatever, it's kind of like you want your thing to sound new and sound like, you know, you're utilizing all the tools that are the most latest stuff. Like you can make a record that sounds like, you know, AC/DC or the Beatles or whatever, and it's sick. Like, I don't know, people get stuck in that golden age thing. So I think it's important to know what the trends are to keep up to date, you know, because I don't know. I think there's more success on the bottom line. You'll find more success doing something new that maybe sucks like 50%, but it's new.
It's new.
Than doing something that sounds exactly perfectly like, you know, like a Rolling Stones record or a Led Zeppelin record. Sure. Who cares about that? I mean, Greta Van Fleet did that and they got pretty successful.
Exactly who I was thinking
of. It pissed off a lot of people, and I feel like that's why it's successful.
Yeah.
Because the amount of hate comments just generates interest and whatever. So, but yeah, I think it's more important to be innovative than like, you know, be perfectly emulating something.
Whatever's hot at the time then.
Yeah.
So it's good to like take a bit of it but not completely base yourself around it.
Yeah, exactly. I think like, yeah, like everyone, you know, like when I was doing radio and stuff like that, people are like clawing tooth and nail trying to find out what the next TikTok trend meme or something is, you know? Yeah. And that's so depressing and like, why would you spend your life fucking doing that? It's awful. But, you know, you could translate that to music and be like, you know, someone might come out with an album that sounds like it's 10 years ahead of its time or whatever. And that's what is amazing and sounds new or whatever, or like combines things. I mean, that's what you do ASA, isn't it? Like look at things and combine them into something new or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah. Like remix. Yeah. I think it's remixing something or whatever the curriculum would say is an important way to do something.
Yeah.
Which is getting inspired by stuff and emulating stuff to a degree. But yeah, it is important, unfortunately, to
so would you
keep
say
up
like
to trends.
Creating something in the hopes that it becomes trendy and catches on is fine, or would you say that's a step backwards? Like say, for example, the Ketchup song doesn't exist and I make the Ketchup song and it's got the dance and everything like that to it and it catches on and it's viral on TikTok.
Yeah.
But that's what I wanted for it.
Spot on. I think some people might hate it, but some people might love it, and that's the best. That's the best thing, you know? Like a lot of people hate the Brat album, but a lot of people love it. And it's maybe you're just a boring old man if you hate it, like, you know.
Are you a Charlie fan?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm a fucking bisexual non-binary. Like, of course I am.
A big advocate for Brat Summer.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd say like that, man, that created a ripple of like that. But you know, I think partly due to the marketing is so successful. So, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Marketing's just as important as content.
That's even still relevant, like the Apple dance and stuff like that.
Yeah. I actually don't like that song. That's the only song
really
on that I don't like. Yeah. But I don't know why. Like, I don't know why. But yeah, that's kind of something different. It's like, is the content even as important as like the marketing?
Sure.
Who knows? Because you got to, but I mean, that's kind of different. But like bands, you know, mixing 1 billion local bands every month or whatever. It's like, I think the ones that do good are people who have their own ideas or maybe like have something to contribute to the culture.
Something unique.
Yeah, or like a message or a bit of an idea, you know, or a bit of like a community togetherness kind of idea. Ones that just kind of, emulate something else and it's purely just listening, don't impact you in the heart at all unless you'd like really enjoy listening to just like a sine wave at 400 hertz or something like that. You kind of need to be like
more slop
saying
for me,
something.
thanks.
Yeah, you kind of need to be like putting forward a piece of your heart. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know, diversion, but yeah.
No, that's blah, great.
Blah, blah. Yeah. What's our time? Can we just blah 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 talk about stuff, or is it like
there's no time. I have a rough like time frame, but it's not a big deal if we go too long under, like whatever we've got.
Yeah. I was just thinking about like essay, like do you do those like philosophy classes or whatever? It's about like
being like an entrepreneur and shit like that.
Like I did a class that was like about, oh no, so bad. Like the recall that it's all gone away, you know, like
it was like 3 years ago or
media
right?
And like, fuck, it was like philosophy. And like,
so we've done like cultural studies.
Yeah, it might be cultural studies.
Well, it was like pick your favorite like subgenre or like maybe subculture of like people and stuff like that. And we've had ones where it's like pick your favorite like entrepreneur, which I think was a load of bullshit and really capitalistic.
And it was we looked at Hegel's dialectics or something like that.
Oh shit! No, we never did that.
That's
like, that must have been tanked.
And everyone was like, "What the fuck?" Well, a lot of people hated it, I think. But I thought it was pretty good because it's trying to
talking about dialectics
fucking
is
nerds
kind of nuts. That
like you have to have a reason, like a point behind what you're doing.
Yeah,
and I think that like because I always used to think like, what's the point of going to school for a creative industry?
Yeah,
but it gives you the tools. But it can't give you like the ideas and the heart behind it.
Sure.
I think that was actually good in hindsight. Because when I was here, I think I did it when I was like 26 or something, my course. There were a lot of people who were like 19 out of high school.
Yeah.
Or 18 SoundCloud rappers or people's whose dads say, well, you can either be an engineer or you can make your little beats and go to beat school or whatever. Yeah. And so I think it was good to have that element of like, you know, have you ever thought about thinking, you know, like so that maybe people can make something, a film or a game or whatever that has like a point behind it versus like, oh, we're just going to get some crisp audio with like a vintage Telefunken microphone through like this compressor or whatever. But then it's like, what's the point? You know, I don't know. Make a boring album.
No,
I thought that was good. I thought that was a good part about it. Yeah.
No, that's funny.
But the courses are hell different now, like, because when I did, there was only one bachelor of audio or something, but now you can be a songwriter.
Yeah,
or you can be an engineer or something.
And still the audio course is still around as well.
Wild.
So the music wasn't around when you were doing it?
No, it was just after.
Okay.
Just after me. And I feel like, I don't know what I would have done, but it would have been way more fun, I think, doing that.
Because that's a lot of like, they still teach you the basics of like, here's how to work in a studio.
Yeah.
But it's more like, here's your songwriting. Here's a little bit like, I think there's like a self-promotion unit where it's like, manage yourself, work as an artist and stuff like that.
But yeah. I mean, some of the people that were in my stream were like, what do you mean recording drums? Like, because they're not going to do that ever or like engineer anything. Yeah. It's like laptop producing or whatever. So I'm glad that it's changed.
You think I can't just program an 808 to do it?
Yeah, exactly. And they'll never use that. So yeah, real strange. And yeah, maybe why no one was interested in philosophy or whatever because they just want to make sick 808 drops or whatever.
You still get like those people rock up. Yeah. Definitely more in the music course than the audio course these days. And then it's still like.
So you're doing audio?
Yeah, audio.
Yeah, sick.
I've
audio
never
purist.
really been I would never describe myself as a muso. Yeah. I am terrible at the drums and that is the only thing I know.
Yeah.
But I've always been more interested in the background of things.
Oh, one thing actually I was thinking of about essay that might be good is do you do like, because you do your learning journals and do they talk about soft skills and hard skills? I think that's actually a good point.
You think they're good?
A lot of people like by the end of my course, you know, that stuck it out to the end and finish their stuff don't get a job because their soft skills are bad. Like they can't talk to someone or they don't. You need to be employable, as in not be like a punishing cunt to hang around with.
Yeah.
Or a punishing person if you want to edit that out.
say cunt. Like we said before it started, I'm an ex-tradie. Cunt
not a
is
punishing
like a permanent part of my vocabulary.
It's Australia. It's not anyway. Like you got to be, soft skills are like just as important because you can always get taught on the job.
Yeah.
What a microphone is or whatever like that. And if you're a lovely person, they're going to be just like, keep this person around, you know? And I think that's literally the main difference of why people don't get employed after studying or why they do is because soft skills, like how to sound not too formal in an email or like, you know, make a good approach to someone or like with live audio, like don't go up to someone who's mixing and just be like, oh,
Turn the drums up,
be
mate.
like, what is this? What is, like kind of have a bit of tact or, like be someone that.
So just be someone that people want to work with.
That's literally like why I've got every job that I have, and why anyone's probably got any job that they have is because like, yeah, you can do the work, but I'd rather employ a soundie at Mojo's where I teach them how to do stuff and they're a lovely person and they're going to talk to the band in a lovely way and make them feel comfy than someone who like can EQ something real good but makes the band feel uncomfy and like all the bar people are like, oh.
The vibe is off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And especially if you do like touring or whatever, like I got this touring job for 3 months because they wanted someone that was good to hang out with. And, or as a side note, you can play guitar, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, that's good too. It's diversifying your skill set.
So exactly right. Like, but it's not till after where you're like doing your learning journey and like, this sucks. This is so boring. It's not till after that you're like, oh, actually that made so much sense. But some people, sometimes you don't understand what you're doing at the time and some stuff you don't listen to and it just goes over your head or whatever. But yeah, I would say,
so they like
work on your soft skills.
They killed learning journals
Did they
before
really?
I got here.
No more learning journals. Christ, man.
So you still have your mid and end project reflections, but you don't have your weekly ones.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty good, but
everybody hated it.
Yeah, everybody did hate it. R.I.P. But
so like I'm so glad like I managed to pick up what soft skills and hard skills were through that conversation because there's no disclaimer.
That's funny. What? So do they still have that or not?
Nah.
If you want to edit that in, it's like hard skills.
No. It's still really
you
good.
Still
and
know
useful,
about hard skills. Like hard skills are like the tech.
Yeah.
Soft skills are your people skills.
Yeah. I figured that was the case.
Yeah,
like
right,
I don't think it takes a genius to figure out either.
Yeah, but I mean, oh man, but some people like it would be way more beneficial to people if they got taught more about soft skills and how to be in like, but that's why it's good. Like when I was doing audio, we'd go and like do a gig, but then also it's like 20. There was a lot of people dropped out by then, but it's like a good few, like a handful of sound students all doing one person's job.
Yeah.
And so like, but it's good to know like how to talk to someone that works in a place in like an environment that you're going to work at, if it's a bar or like a festival or a film set or whatever. Yeah. So when you do the on-site stuff, the soft skills are way more important than being like,
absolutely.
How many dB of like 2K are you taking out there and how to tune? I think it's way better to be like, how do I get everyone to like me here?
Yeah.
Not like,
I feel like most of the compliments I get about my work are like, everyone just thinks you're doing a great job because the vibe is good. Like
vibe is key.
Yeah.
That's what they should write on the fucking blackboard, like on, day one.
Yeah.
Vibe is key. And then just stand in
the job
silence
is stressful,
and let everyone,
but you didn't freak anyone out and you did well.
Yeah, don't freak people out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spot on.
Yeah. We'll move on then.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who are wanting to like pursue a career in this industry?
In the ones that I do specifically or like generally?
Either, honestly. If anything comes to mind, like say people want to be a producer or just work in the music industry in general.
Yeah, if you want to be a producer, you got to get good at Pro Tools and get good at like Ableton or Logic or Cubase. That's pretty cool actually. Cubase is good.
I've heard a lot of things about Cubase.
But you have to be good at Pro Tools because, even if you're a bedroom producer and then someone wants live drums, then you're going to use a studio and then you're going to be like, how do I plug Ableton into this? And it's like, just track in Pro Tools. And I don't know, record your mates for free just to get some good stuff out there instead of like trying to scam kids out of hundreds of bucks. Like, build a portfolio, know what you want to do. And I think like being a producer, it's all about your vibe as well because anybody can mix. Oh man, there's some like successful producers who are terrible at mixing.
Yeah.
Like properly bad. But the vibe is great in the studio, and like you make them feel comfy. You have to make people feel comfy, make them feel excited. And that's the same with live too. Like if you're not on a crew, if you're doing like gigs where you're the main point of contact for the band, you got to make them feel excited, make them feel happy. Like I remember from ages ago, actually in TAFE days, you can bleep out TAFE if you want, but I had a lecturer. There was a lot of bullshit, like, you know, but one thing that was like, he said was like, the monitor mix is more important than the front of house mix. Cause like if the band have a great mix, they're going to do a great show.
Mm.
And if people think like, you know, maybe 90% of the people listening in the audience aren't going to care about the mix at all. And if one audio nerd is like, oh, that snare's a bit boxy, it's like, who cares? But if the monitors are bad, the band's going to have a terrible time. They're going to have a bad show. They're going to hate the venue. They're going to hate you. And the audience is going to be like, what is happening? Because they're going to be like performing badly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's actually such a key thing is like make the band happy first, then second, make the monitor mix good. And then third, like the front of house has to be good, obviously. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's good advice.
Stuff, yeah.
That's not the first time I've heard something like that as well.
Oh,
like
good.
It's, like make sure the artist is vibing their stuff and then you'll get a better performance.
And also just like if you're doing studio or if you're doing live, it's like go early and be prepared, like be hell prepared and just think of things that you can do that will make them feel excited. Like for one artist, one time I just like, even though you hell don't need to for most gigs, you like spike the stage with tape where their mic is and where their monitors are and stuff. And they're like, oh, you care so much about me. And you're like, yeah, like it's just those little things or you do stuff like that. Or in the studio, if you'd like hype them up or I don't know, bring a cake, a delicious cake. It's their favorite thing or something like that. It's that, but that's soft skills and vibe again, you know? Yeah.
Make people happy. A treat for you guys.
You got to make people happy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. Last thing then, this one might sound a little cringy, but who knows? Maybe it'll be cool. So what would you define as success personally?
Oh, being happy every day.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Some people love money. I love money. But I think the success is just like, being able to determine your own path in life. And if you have the skills to be able to do that in an industry that you're happy in, then that's the best thing ever. And then you'll make money along the way if you're happy what you're doing. And if you're good at it, you're going to be good at it if you love it, you know?
So it just sort of comes back to fulfillment for you then?
I think everything else will come if you're happy what you're doing because then people around you are going to be happy.
Yeah.
They're going to want to employ you. You're going to make money. And I'd say like, I don't know. That's success kind of. I think depends what you want. If you have a nice dog or something, like, I don't know. It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But if you got to have like goals as well and you got to be uncomfy. You got to be okay to be uncomfy and be happy to be stressed.
Yeah.
But not in a unhealthy work-life balance way. Yeah. That's it.
So like, it's so funny that like the first thing when I bring it up, people are like money. Hey, financial stability is great.
Exactly. Because people are joking if they think money can't buy happiness. You can buy jet skis with money. Yeah.
You can buy a cool dog with money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's just the unfortunate factor that we live in. You need to have safety and security and whatever. But, I think you're not successful if you're doing a job you hate. And that's why we're all doing this, you know, is because we're trying to do a job that we love. And hopefully you can sustain it and not be too stressed in a bad way. Just be stressed in a good way.
In a good way. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll call it there.
Sick.
Thank you so much for coming on board.
Yeah, no worries.
Taking the time out of your week for us.
Amazing. Beautiful studio you got here. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
All right. Thanks for having me. Good to be back.
Thank you so much.
It's cute.
It's all good.